Here's the thing. They will agree with me. We don't care how much time it takes. We're just focused on the outcome. That's what matters. The outcome. That's why my fee is based on the outcome I will deliver. And by the way, I guarantee it. I do have a
Yeah.
guarantee. So, because I know what I do works. But the smarter ones will be, I know, damn. I mean, it's kind of like this, it's a noose around their neck, the billable hour. I mean, can you imagine living your life in 6-minute increments?
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets Podcast. I'm Kevin, and today we're joined by Gary Mitchell. He is the founder of On Track Coaching, been a coach for 20 plus years. Welcome to the show, Gary.
Thanks, Kevin. It's my pleasure to be with you today.
Yeah. It's so funny because pre-podcast, we were talking about your adventures in China when you're 19 years old and just loving exploring different cultures and your curiosity, right? And you could have been so many different things. You could have been a Chinese tour guide. You could have been, a professional food taster, right? But out of all the things you chose, you decided to land on coaching, and not only land on coaching, but turn it into a business.
Absolutely fell into it, Kevin. I had always been fascinated. As we were talking in the pre-podcast, I was very fortunate to be brought up in a family and in a place, a suburb of Toronto, one of the most multicultural cities in the world. So I always was curious, right? I loved history. I loved sociology. I loved the study of people all my life. So along with that, politics. So I was very involved in politics. And 2004, I ran for parliament in Vancouver. And I always say, thankfully, I lost. I'm serious. I'm very, very serious about that. I knew I wasn't going to win actually because the riding and the party and all that, but I had to stand up for what I believed in. It was one of those aha moments. But here's the thing. After that is when everything changed because I got approached to run a nomination for a lawyer in the same riding after the following election. I ran his nomination, he won, and then he was adamant about me being his campaign manager. So that was my first foray in coaching. And it was truly one of those life aha moments. I'd always been the guy, always the one out front, right? And now I'm the guy behind the guy. And wow, watching the transformation of another human being. And I had some part of that. Obviously, I'm not going to take all credit, right?
Yeah.
Like he was amazing. He was a sponge. He soaked everything in. But his friend, a former lawyer at the time, came up to me one day after the campaign meeting and he said, Gary, you've got an amazing talent to distill like people skills, soft skills to highly intelligent people, right? And this candidate was dual masters, geology and law. So we're talking like double intellectual, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a different skill set, right? The lawyer skill set, intellectual, analytical, critical, and then just by way of experience, my skill set, which was more the people skills, right? So that's how I landed. I mean, I was, after I picked my jaw off the ground, when I was given this idea, I began about 9 months of research. And back then, Kevin, I was the only coach in the legal industry in Canada and one of very few in North America. Like all the research I had to do was online, looking at the US. I met with many lawyers in Vancouver, many marketing directors. Serendipitously, the first chapter of the Legal Marketing Association outside of the United States was forming in Vancouver. I went, like seriously, this is in my first couple of months. It was August of 2006. I went to the meeting, I networked, I met veteran legal marketers from the US who are still friends to this day. I saw them in LA at the annual conference in 2009, but we're still in touch. And I haven't looked back.
Wow.
Now here's the real kicker, Kevin. Talk about serendipity and how life, if you let it, life can take you down a path that you would never have dreamed. My 4th book is due out in June. The co-publisher is the brother, also a practicing lawyer, of the guy who gave me the idea to coach lawyers in the beginning.
Wow. It kind of came full circle.
You can't write that. I mean, I was searching for publishers. This is my 4th book, and it's definitely an embodiment of 20 years of work plus my experience before that. And so I was taking my time. I researched all over North America and I stumbled upon this and I couldn't believe it when I found out the co-publisher is the brother of the lawyer that gave me the idea to do this in the first place.
You mentioned you're always in kind of like the spotlight before, right? And now you're the
Mhm.
behind the scenes person. Must have been kind of, how was the transition? Was it a humbling experience? Like, how would you describe it?
I actually felt like I was so proud. I felt like a parent. I've never been a parent, but I can imagine what it must be like when one of your children goes on to do well and you're like the proud parent going, wow, look at how this person has grown.
That's amazing.
Certainly humbling for sure, but it was just as far like if you're asking, did my ego have any get checked or anything? Not at all. I just thoroughly went, wow, this is amazing, right? This is absolutely amazing. Watching someone literally transform. Like, and we did
Yeah.
the whole thing. I mean, there's a couple stories where I took him to a tailor to get a new suit, and his wife, when he was in the change room, his wife leaned over to me and she said, thank you. I had his assistant go get him a haircut. One day during the campaign, he gets in the cab and he's still got his ancient vinyl brown leather, or well, actually, it wasn't even leather, it would have been vinyl briefcase from law school. And I said, now
Yeah.
this was the last part of the transformation. He had the haircut, he had a new suit, he's working on his networking and his speech and all that. So I told him, I said, if you have that briefcase with you tomorrow, I quit. So he went out and bought a new briefcase, and that was kind of like the end of the outside part of the transformation. But it truly was
Mm.
like awe inspiring, eye opening. I've like sure there's been ups and downs, but I have never. I mean, I'm definitely on purpose. I'm doing what I should be doing. I'm doing what I was put here to do, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
The interesting part about this is, sometimes I ask people how do they find their ICP, the ideal client profile, but I kind of found you in this case, right?
You know what? You wouldn't
Yeah.
believe this. My first
Tell me.
client, okay?
Yeah.
My first client. So he's a partner at a very well established 100-year-old litigation firm, a big one in Vancouver. And he says to me one day why he chose me. He looked at a couple of other people from the legal marketing background and he found them paraphrasing a little fluffy and I'm brand spanking new. I don't have a scratch on me, Kevin, right? No, I've done
Mm.
9 months of research, but I haven't actually done any coaching work with the lawyers in the realm of law. I had coached the candidate. So he tells me, he goes, Gary, I already know how to be a good lawyer. I want what you have. I want that entrepreneurial drive and mindset. I mean, right out of the gate, he framed my ideal client profile right out of the gate.
That's interesting. And I'm guessing you ran with it.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Now it's to the point where last year I even niched even further. I work exclusively with law firm owners. So smaller law firms, more entrepreneurial. So it's entrepreneur to entrepreneur and we get stuff done. I liken it back to that nomination phase where literally I got a call on a Monday night. The nomination was going to be a week the following Saturday. I called the candidate on the Tuesday. I met with him on the boardroom on the Wednesday. And the next 10 days, I oversaw the building of a website, a mailer, hosted an event, wrote his speech, coached him on his speech, and got him ready for the nomination meeting. 10 days. I dropped everything else and did this, just him and me. And it was the most amazing experience of my life. And now I'm kind of reliving it a little bit now that I'm working one-on-one with law firm owners because we don't have the bureaucracy. I work with the decision maker. So we can make decisions, we can move quickly, and we can see results very, very quickly. It's really awesome.
Yeah. Now, I know you've been in the industry for about 20 years, right? And so a lot has changed in that amount of time. And part of running a business I always think about is the marketing. And so how has your marketing kind of evolved over the years? Yeah, I'm kind of curious.
It's interesting that you bring that up because it hasn't. The approach that I took from the very beginning is still the same approach. The tools are different. Let me explain. So from the very beginning, felt comfortable. I didn't want to sell. Okay. I don't want to be like pushy and look at me and I can do this for you and blah, blah, blah. No, no, no. So I stumbled upon one of my first article, by the way, was September 2006 on of the Lawyers Weekly of a publication in Canada. And that was in my first couple of months. And so I spoke when I could get, I got invited to the Canadian Bar Association annual conference in Dublin, Ireland. I spoke at many Legal Marketing Association events, Ontario Bar Association, British Columbia Bar Association. I spoke at the students at the UBC Law School. So I would write and I would speak. And I called it back then, long before this term content marketing came up about a few years ago. I called it educational marketing, right? I'm
Mm.
giving value. I'm showing my expertise, but I'm educating my target audience. So that approach has never changed. I'm still doing that, but now I'm doing it like this, guesting on podcasts. I have an app coming out in a month. The book is coming out. I continue to write for the new entity, which is Law 360, which is the digital version of the Lawyers Weekly. So I've been writing for them for over 20 years now, and it's still the same approach. Social media will cover like some of the, like we'll post articles written, we'll post parts of podcasts, but it's still all educational. Yeah, it's interesting how why you bring that up, because I just found it worked, right? Like
Mm.
a lawyer will often say, "How did you find me?" And they said online. But when I go deeper, it'll be, "Oh, I heard you speak at so and so, or I read your article, or I read your book, or and that's how people find me. So it hasn't changed. The tools have changed slightly, right?
The interesting one that you brought up was an app because that's something I don't hear that people launch an app all the time, right? It's not, some people do, but
No,
like, how did you?
I'm totally, what's very ironic is 20 years ago, um, in another lifetime, it seems, one of my neighbors was a Russian tech guy. And I brought the idea up to him. This is before educational apps. Okay. So this is before Duolingo, all of that. Right. But I just had this idea. I thought there must be a way with technology to put my knowledge into some kind of an app. And he completely dismissed me. He goes, "What are you talking about? That wouldn't work." Right. Because the apps back then were very basic, like 20 years ago, 2006. And so I've never given up. And now what's coming out in roughly a month is an A to Z. It's a DIY. And lawyers are known to be DIY. They're very independent minded, very independent thinking. So if they don't want to work with a coach, it's the A to Z of how to grow a law firm. And here's the kicker, and also gain more freedom in your life. Not just money, not just growth, not just bigger and better, but also freedom in your life. So I'm totally stoked for it to launch. And we've got a huge, massive campaign we're building around it, because there's nothing like it on the market. Nothing.
Mm,
It's kind of like
that's really,
I use Duolingo because it's probably one of the most widely known, right, educational apps. It's kind of like the Duolingo for lawyers on how to grow a law firm business.
that's so interesting. How did you get that initial idea, I guess?
I don't even remember, because like I said, it's 20 years ago. I don't know, with technology I've never been as technology as, at my age, I've seen everything's been new in my lifetime,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I've never shied away from it. I've always been curious. And I don't know where or how I came up with the idea originally. I guess because I was starting to learn about apps, right? And try certain apps myself. I thought, I wonder. But anyway, it's taken, it's been a long road, but here we are, and we're just a few weeks away. And it's called the Law Firm Accelerator.
Accelerator. And you said something really interesting too, because yes, like the app kind of teaches them how to grow their law firm, right? Grow their business. But then you were talking about like freedom in the life. And how would you define like, or how would either your clients define freedom in their life? What are some examples, I guess, of
Okay.
freedom in their life?
And again, freedom will mean different things to different people, right?
Yes.
One of the most widely common definitions of freedom is being able to travel with your spouse more, having more time
Uh,
with the kids, being able to travel, being able to walk away from the office and have it running without them. That's the most common theme for freedom. And, we're talking, you're in Vietnam. I'm in Mexico right now. I work for Mexico in the winter and have since 2010. That's
mm,
freedom for me, right?
mm,
I don't have to be on the ground in Vancouver or Toronto or anywhere else. And I can show most lawyers how they can do that themselves. In fact, I can't take all credit for this too. One of my early clients, he was going to Costa Rica in the wintertime. He was from Toronto, and he'd go down to Costa Rica for 4 months and schedule everything around it. Right. He was a
yeah.
litigator. So obviously you have to be in person in courtrooms. Right. But he would schedule everything and work around it. I
Mm,
help them first with the mindset that, like the book is called The And Approach, because it's all about and, not or, not but, and growing a successful law firm and gaining more freedom. So the first thing is mindset. I work with my
Mm,
clients on the mindset to have them understand and open up to the idea that it is possible. That's the first step because they've never thought that
mm.
before. That was not conditioned, not programmed in law school, not programmed, especially if they worked at a large firm. So the first thing is helping them to understand that yes, it is possible. And then I show them how.
And so at this point, you're putting out content, you have this app coming up, you have your books, you're probably writing about the and mindset or the and approach that you're talking about before. I'm sure people at this point are just like raising their hands and they're like, "Oh my God, Gary, how do I work with you?" And so I know some coaches do one-on-one coaching, some do group. There's a lot of different modalities, right? But what
Yeah.
do your coaching engagements and offerings kind of look like?
Well, the premium is obviously the one-to-one. Nothing can
Mm,
replace that. And that's weekly, right? I offer bi-weekly or weekly, depending on how fast they want to move. And also after the app is launched, I will be creating a mastermind, a monthly live stream call for group. So it'll be a broad-based once a month live going through the content, having it open up to questions and answer like live, actually coaching. So I'll open that up to group. I love what I do, Kevin, and I don't want to overdo it. I don't need to be greedy, right? But there's only so much I have of my time. So I've got a good balance, right? I have to be able to time for writing, which I love, and speaking. So yes, I've got the premium is the one-to-one, and then I'll be launching the law firm owners masterclass after the app is out.
which leads me to ask this, right? Because if one-on-one is your premium offer, right? It sounds like what you're doing is pretty intimate, especially if you're getting into the mindset stuff, right? And so
It's
how do
very,
you,
yes.
yeah. And so how do you manage your client capacity so your cup stays full, you know? Do you have like staff? Do you
Well,
like, yeah.
like 20 years in, I pretty much know what my capacity is, and I like my freedom. I took up, I came down here November 2nd, I took up pickleball. Okay. So it's a new sport for me. I go to the gym. I'm an avid gym goer. I love to sing. I like to explore, get out and walk on the Malecon, which is like the seawall here in Puerto Vallarta. I'm a foodie. So I enjoy new dining experiences and cooking myself. I love to cook. It's another creative outlet. So I'm not giving that up. That's my life. That's what makes me happy, right? I've got a good
Yeah.
balance of what I remember a friend of mine said, does it feed your soul? There's the question. Does it feed your soul? If I can say yes, then I'm doing it. It's part of my life.
Mm,
If it doesn't feed my soul, I'm not doing it, quite simply. I mean, now there's certain things, right, that we all must do in business. For instance, I'll give you an example, right? I have my bookkeeper and accountant, and for years I was always like, and then like last year, I just made the habit, which I teach my clients when it's something you usually procrastinate, something you don't like, do it first. So my new habit is 6 o'clock in the morning on the first of each month. I'm doing the books from the previous month off to the accountant
yeah.
before 8. And it's done. And I actually have turned something that I used to hate into something that I look forward to because it's getting it off my plate, right? So,
Mm,
and I teach my clients that too. Like we all procrastinate. We all have things that we would rather not do, right? And I'm like, get it done first, man. Then the rest of your day is all yours, right?
yeah. Yeah. And it seems like you've, over the 20 years, right? It seems like you've kind of designed your coaching practice to be small and lean and all that. It doesn't seem like you have that much overhead. It seems intentional.
No, no,
No?
no. I don't have much overhead at all. No.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the biggest things I did, smartest things I did in 20 years is I brought on an EA December 1st. She
Nice.
has proved remarkably valuable. I did work with her a few years ago. I had through an agency called Virtual Gurus, where they placed
Hmm.
virtual assistants. So I had her working with me for a couple of hours a month before. And then I approached her because I always knew in the back of my mind that she had the right attitude. See, this is what I always tell my clients. Attitude is everything. Hire for
Yeah.
attitude before marks, before experience, before whatever. Hire for attitude because she'll make mistakes. We all do, right? But she will get she'll fix it. She'll find out, she'll get in there, learn and improve. And that's the kind of attitude I want. Right. So this was the best, I would say the best business decision I've made in 20 years is getting an EA. It's freed me up to do more of the high level stuff, more of the fun stuff. Right. And
Yeah.
having a second set of eyes on the marketing, on the branding, on the communication. I love it. I love brainstorming
Yeah.
and collaborating. I truly do.
Have you ever thought about like hiring on a second coach or anything like that too? Or do you
No,
like,
no. I did think about it in 2008, 2009. I did have a few coaches on contract, and I went through the process. And I'll actually tell you a story about my dad. My dad was self-employed. He was a graphic artist. And when I started my first business at 25 in Toronto, I built a national event from nothing, right, from scratch. It got quite a lot of notoriety. Anyway, I remember, in my 20s, I was 25. I want to be king of the world. I want to create this big, massive corporation and blah, 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 and be a multi-trillionaire, whatever. Anyway, so I remember asking my dad because two of his colleagues that he worked with went on to create two of the largest design houses in Toronto. And he stayed single. Like he would have another graphic artist on contract for overflow. But he told me then, and I didn't understand it, but I always listen, Kevin. I always listen to people like, and it sticks with me. And maybe I didn't hear it in the moment, but he said, I love what I do. I don't want to be spending my time managing other people doing what I love to do. And I went after 2009, I was like, I get it. Now here's the kicker. The next phase for my growth, franchising, which I am aiming to do by the end of the year, because I would like to help other coaches, give them a platform with which to build a career on. So that's the next after the app and the book and all that's launched. The next project is franchising.
love that? I love that little lesson that you picked up from your dad. It's so
Oh
funny.
yeah,
The 25-year-old ego can always
that's
get
right. You
like,
know what I'm talking
yeah,
about, right? You're in
yeah.
your 20s, you want to build this massive whatever. You have no idea what you're talking about. You know nothing basically.
Mm.
And I just laugh at that all the time because, as I've gotten older, I'm like, wow, my dad was smart. So smart. And he passed on so much to me. I'm so grateful.
Speaking about like passing on knowledge, something that I'm also very, very curious about too, since you've been in the game for a while, is a lot of coaches that come on here struggle with things like pricing. What do I charge? How do I package this? Right. Of course, Gary, you don't have to give any hard numbers on this podcast or anything
No.
like that. But I'm kind of curious, like, how do you think about pricing and structuring your packages today, and how
Okay.
has that evolved over years?
That's a good question because I think if there are other coaches who are new to the profession listening to this, that's just something everyone struggles with. Anyone in professional services struggles with that. Even my clients struggle with it. So basically what I look at is the impact. Okay. They're not buying my time. It's not by the minute or by the hour or whatever. I mean, it's like, I remember this story. Pavarotti would make $2 million a concert, but did he really make $2 million in 2 hours? No, he made $2 million because he spent 30 years perfecting his craft. Right. So again, it's like 20 years of experience, hundreds of clients, my curriculum, my intellectual property. Yes, there is time. I do a monthly retainer. I never have a solid contract. I have a, operational memorandum where people will give me 30 days notice if they wish to cancel, but there's never anything tied down. As long as I'm showing results, my clients will keep me. So it's a retainer. It's based on impact. And I'll give you an example. If I'm working with a law firm owner, then that rate, that retainer is going to be higher than if I'm just working with a solo lawyer, because my
Mm,
ability to help them increase the revenue is directly related to what stage they are at. Does that make sense?
yeah. Mine's being
Like
one of my favorite.
some people would go, my hourly rate is this. No, I've never been that. No, no, it's the impact. It's the value that will come from the engagement. That's how I've measured my fees.
What's an example, like, I guess during a discovery call or during a conversation, how do you uncover like the impact, those impact questions, and how do you kind of tie it to specific like numbers or quantify it, I guess, in your mind?
Well, there will be, I mean, we'll talk in a discovery call. We will talk about current revenue. We'll talk
Yeah.
about goal revenue. What are they aiming for? So that's obviously the easiest thing to measure.
Yes.
What's less tangible to measure, but still quantifiable is how they feel. When they get to that
Mm,
point where they know they can get on a plane and not worry that the office is running on its own, I just remind them, and what is that worth? Only they can
mm,
answer. I can't answer that question, but I can tell
yeah.
you from experience, it's worth a hell of a lot. A lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I always love those conversations. Actually, one of my favorite authors is up in your neck of the woods in Vancouver and stuff. Blair
Oh, yeah?
Enns. He talks about value-based pricing all the time. And
Yeah.
I
Yep.
find it so interesting about how people quantify like very subjective type of things of like, oh, I want to spend time with my spouse or I want to spend time with my kids and equating it to a
Yeah.
dollar amount. So yeah, it's really, really interesting stuff.
Well, it's
So
the same thing as when a lawyer, because they don't like to give up control. It's one of their personality traits. They like to have
yeah,
control.
I would agree.
So when I'm working with someone and we're trying to tell them, okay, if you want to grow, if you want freedom, there's going to be a few steps. And one of those steps is you're going to have to let go of control. You're going to have to build a team around you. But here's the thing. What do you charge an hour? Right. Answer could be 500, 700, maybe 800, 1,000, maybe top tier lawyer at an international firm. Okay. And you're struggling to put this article together. You
Mm,
can hire someone for 1/20th minimum of what
mm,
you're billing an hour. And they're going to do a hell of a lot better job at it than you will. So you're leaving money on the table. So that's another
mm,
way I'll show them how to make more money. It's not just about bringing more money in. It's how to be using their time most effectively. Like I'll do a time audit with them and I start with the law firm owner and then I'll go through everyone in the management or leadership team and make sure that everyone is functioning at their highest level. They're not doing things that should be delegated down
yes.
because what I've always found, like, is that the lawyers try and do all, like, they try to do everything on their own. It's been the
Mm,
number one challenge. And no matter if they're solo practice, if they're a partner at a large firm, or if they're a law firm owner, they're trying to do everything on their own. And I just remind them, did you want to take that 1 month trip to Spain with your wife?
mm,
Okay. Well, how do you do that? Do you shut the door to the law firm? Or do you build a team you can trust, a team you can rely on, a team that's going to run it just as good, if not better than you. And you can go to
mm.
Spain with your wife. I'm just using Spain as an example out of the
Yeah.
blue.
Yeah.
I
Maybe a
don't
bit
know
of projection.
why
Maybe you want
I
to go
should be
Spain.
think I should be talking Italy since the Olympics start tomorrow. I,
Yeah.
s- I should have brought up Italy, but Cortina Milano or Milano Cortina. Anyway,
Yeah, that's so helpful too because I think a lot of times, especially new coaches, I see them get so caught up with like hourly rates and all that sort of stuff. Whereas more advanced coaches, they go toward more the value-based pricing and all that and have those
you know,
value-based
I only
discussions.
went through the pain and agony of hourly for 1 year. It was my first year, and I actually
Mm,
asked that former lawyer who gave me the idea to coach lawyers in the beginning. I actually asked him for his feedback, and he helped me come up with an hourly rate to start. And then by the end of my first year, I don't even think I waited till the end of that first year. It was within 1 year I went to value based. I went right off the hourly.
And it's so interesting because certain industries like attorneys, lawyers, they love hourly based for some reason. Like there's certain pricing models that they love, but it's really interesting that you're able to charge a value based pricing in a industry that's like completely hourly. They charge hourly to their clients.
Not completely, not completely. Some of the more forward-thinking, innovative entrepreneurial lawyers have moved to value-based, and I've been screaming it at the top of the mountaintop for 20 years. Get off the hourly rate. I mean, your clients. Here's the thing, and they will agree with me. We don't care how much time it takes. We're just focused on the outcome, right? That's what matters, the outcome. So that's why I taught my fee is based on the outcome I will deliver. And by the way, I guarantee it. I do have a
Yeah,
guarantee. Okay.
yeah,
So, because I know what I do works, right?
yeah,
So I can guarantee it. But the smarter ones will be, I know, damn. I mean, it's kind of like this, it's a noose around their neck, the billable hour. I mean, can you imagine living your life in 6 minute increments? That's how they
yeah.
do it by the hour. every 6 minutes. It's like a point one or something. Like it's like I can't even. I mean, no way, no way would I live my life like that. No way.
And the
Plus,
clients
you know
hate it
the
too.
Oh, they
Sorry.
totally hate it. It seems like it's almost like they're like the lawyer is like penny pinching or biting off. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I've got this problem or I need this contract or I need this document. Like, tell me how much? Blah, 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 blah. Well, you've been doing it for how many years? You have an idea of how much time it's going to take. You know the value of it because if it prevents this, if it prevents A from happening, or it allows B to move forward, there's a value you can attach to that, right? And clients will appreciate it more too, because then they're going to know budget. Hmm, I got this much. Like even my corporate lawyer, when I'm incorporating or doing trademark or whatever, I know right off the bat what I'm dealing with. She's not going to be like charging me by the hour. By the way, she was the riding president in the association that I ran, and then when I ran the candidates nomination. So she's still in my life. She's my corporate lawyer. Yeah. So crazy.
Quite
I'll see her
hilarious.
when I get back to Vancouver. Her and her husband, we go to the keg patio in Yaletown in Vancouver a couple
Oh,
times in the summer. It's beautiful. It's
it's the
beautiful.
prime rib place. Is
Yeah.
that the prime rib place
Yes.
in
Yep.
Vancouver?
Yep. It's a
Yeah, I've been there a
steakhouse.
few
Yep.
times. Yeah, I love it.
Yep.
Man, something that's really inspiring about you is like you've been in the game for so long, and I think most people around your season, they think about settling down, but you're thinking about actually expanding through their franchising and all that, which I find
Oh
is
yeah.
really, really interesting. Yeah.
No, well, see, this is where we get back to the original. I am a serial entrepreneur.
Mm,
Like I there's something about growing, there's something about the creative process, about building things that I just love. And so I was able to stumble into a business that I get
mhm.
to help other people build things every single day. Like people
Yeah.
have asked me about retirement. I'm like, are you on crack? Why would I retire? I love what I do. I can do it from anywhere in the world. I can travel. I can tone it down, right? I can pare down a little bit and probably will, but I truly love what I'm doing. So
Mm,
like I don't know, I want to keep doing it as long as I can keep doing it. And then to
mm,
be honest with the franchising part, and a lot of coaches who are listening to this will identify with this, there are a number of vultures that have been out in the market targeting coaches for many years. I know I've been the victim a few times of buying into certain things, and it's disgusting. I want to give coaches a platform, like not only how to build, right? Because coaches are kind of like lawyers. There are many that are great at the craft, but not so good at the business part. So I want to give them an A to Z of a platform. You know, my franchise consultant, he asked me we're talking December, he asked me, so do you envision on track being everywhere? I said, absolutely not. As a business coach, I'm going to advise the franchisees to brand their own. Right. Like, why would I don't care. It's not McDonald's, right? I want my
yeah.
franchisees to be successful and I'm going to help them brand their own thing. Right.
Mm,
So I'm looking forward to it. I really am, because I'll still be coaching. I'll be coaching the franchisees, and then they're going
yeah.
to go off and they're going to coach whatever industry, whatever. I mean, this stuff is applicable across the board because we're talking about the people part of the business, which is always the
Mm,
most challenging. Technology, press a button, learn a new app, learn a new program, learn this. It's easy, easy peasy. People, that's the hard part.
that's a harder part. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
You
the
always
hard
hear
part.
these, yeah, you always hear about these stories about these like like the Rothschilds or like these like really super rich families. And they have this plan, but then it completely falls apart because of the people aspect. Like people have their own
Yeah.
ambitions, their own desires and
Yep.
stuff. And yeah, it's just
Yep.
really, really. Speaking about challenges here, I think on social media, sometimes it's really easy to see all the highlight reels of all the great stuff that is happening. But something I've kind of seen in business is that the problems kind of evolve over time. And some people might call them challenges, but I like to call them growing pains. What are some growing pains that you're noticing in this season of business for you right now, if you're open to sharing?
The number one growing pain has always been how I can go from a record revenue to zero overnight and up again. It's the unpredictable nature of this business, right? Clients will come on board or decide they're done on a whim and have no
Mm,
control over it whatsoever. And I don't really think a contract is going to make any difference, Kevin. Like I'm dealing with lawyers, right? If they're signing on, they're signing on. I don't need
mm.
to have it written in blood, but you are still at the whim of the client and what's going on in their world with their business. So I would say that has been and always been, and I don't know, to be honest, I think if I could solve that problem, we wouldn't be on this call because I'd be on my own private island, to be honest. If I could solve that problem for myself and all the other coaches out there, yeah, I would be on Mitchell Island somewhere in the Caribbean.
Yeah, because I think about the nature of content marketing, which I love, and referrals, right? And it's
Hmm.
so great because we can educate people while we're sleeping. It's kind of hard because you can't really control the flow of the lead sometimes, into your
Nope.
business. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Interesting. Have you ever experimented with any like type of market, like any paid marketing or anything like that in the past, or like
I
curious
did
there?
a few years ago. I experimented with different types of paid advertising. It
Yeah.
just doesn't work. It doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
Like we had targeted again. Like most people don't like to be sold to. The challenge, and again, this is for the coaches listening in, especially newbie
Yes.
coaches. Our product is intangible. You can't hold on to it, right? And I'll use my target audience, which I believe to be the hardest target audience to reach on the planet, lawyers,
Yeah.
because they don't like to be sold to times 100. When it comes to a bespoke suit or a house in, Beverly Hills, I'll say that because everyone knows Beverly Hills is a high-end neighborhood in Los Angeles.
Yep.
I could
I
use the Shaughnessy in Vancouver, Rosedale in Toronto, blah, 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 blah. I don't know what it is in Vegas, your hometown. Ferrari, you can get in it. You sit in it. You drive it. You're touching it. It's ephemeral. It's out there, right? It's really, really challenging. And one of the things I've always maintained is I never push and I never pull. You're either ready
Mm,
for it and you get it or you don't.
yeah.
It's tough because you don't have, like, there's many other businesses. I could get a job doing what I'm doing, probably make more stable money, but it might stifle me, right?
Hmm. It's kind of funny that you mentioned Beverly Hills because I used to have a lot of patients there. I used to live in LA and all that for a period for
Oh,
like
yeah.
almost 8 years. Yeah, and it's kind of funny because I get so inspired by the I don't know what you want star like coaches like Tony Robbins and stuff, and how they
Oh, yeah.
create experience, and how everybody in that area just like goes because it's kind of like a trend and stuff like that too. It's really, really interesting, like the different levels to coaching as well, like marketing.
Hmm.
I'm also really, really curious too, as you were growing your practice, right? A lot of people invest into have different investments, right? Like masterminds, other coaches. There's ultimate, like so many things that you can invest in. Kind of curious about like your best, like business investment you made so far, and kind of like this one's a bit cheeky, but kind of like the worst one that you kind of wish you got your money back.
Well, the worst one, I won't mention a brand name, but it was one of the
Sure.
one of the one of the coaching platforms that's out there. And
Oh.
it was just crap there's no better word, crap. It was just crap. The best one, well, that's hard to say. I'll tell you one thing that I'm religious about is audiobooks. I'm
Mm,
listening to audiobooks every day. I find I absorb it much easier. And actually, like, I'm hell bent on making sure this fourth book gets to audiobook version, because lawyers don't have time to sit down and actually read something outside of their already busy schedule. They'll do it on the
yes.
way to the gym, at the gym, maybe out for a run, on the subway, in the car. So anyway, I'm the same way. To sit down and actually devote time to actually read something, I can't fathom. But audiobook, I listen every day, every day.
Mm,
And I'm actually, most of the time, I will go, if I really like a book, I will go through it twice.
mm,
Yeah. So as
that's
far
really
as like class, I mean, I've had mentors. I've had my own coach a couple times. I've had personal trainers at the gym. I've had different coaches for different things. As far as like a platform, I wouldn't say no, I didn't go that route, but I've definitely had a lot of support. Like, my dedication
interesting.
in the book is to all the teachers, trainers, mentors, people that have helped me in my life and my career. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nobody does this. Nobody does this alone.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest lie of entrepreneurship of like self-made because no one's ever
No, there's no
self-made.
such thing.
Like,
There's no such
you
thing.
know,
Like, when you actually read, because I love studying entrepreneurs. I love studying businesses, self-improvement, communication, everything. Like I'm just a sponge, right? There is no such thing as self-made or overnight success. Doesn't happen. No, no. When you,
Kind of reminds me of science class when you're learning about neurons and stuff and the action potential. Like there's all these small different like things that are happening, and then you see the velocity all of a sudden, and that feels a lot like business sometimes, like where you see, it's really interesting. That's actually why we're called purple circles, because like purple, if you study your brand colors, is the color of royalty and transformation. And a circle is like, in order for any transformation to happen, you need a circle of people to do it with. And that back and forth with that collaboration that you're talking about is like, man, we're all about the conversations, the collaborations, and like community and stuff. And that is so valuable. Yeah. With that being said, Gary, I'm sure we could go on for another hour or so, but if you feel like you're on the cusp of the up and up, how can people find you and connect with you and follow your journey, Gary? Yeah. Gary, something that really strikes me is like, someone so late in your game, like I mentioned this before earlier in the podcast, where people are trying to settle down, you're still so focused on making impact and doing bigger things and pushing yourself and stuff too. And it's really, really inspiring, and I think that's my long-winded way of just saying, hey, I really appreciate your work. Your work really matters. It's making a difference. And thank you so much for sharing your experience, your time, your advice on pricing, especially, and your wisdom on this podcast today. Thank you so much, Gary.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.